In order to get rid of the fetus in the belly, the woman went to the market to buy ginger, garlic, and chili and put them together to crush them. After that, she stuffed a brain into her stomach, although it hurts to the point of tearing the heart. But in order to get rid of this 4-month-old miscarriage, he had to do it a few months ago in order to upgrade to work at the nightclub. Ajin met a man with a bad temper. The other party forcibly put him on the sofa. Ajin wanted to resist, but he was beaten. When he heard that the workers in Tokyo came to check, he was stopped by 2 younger brothers. In this way, Ajin suffered a few hours of torture and later learned of the situation. Ming wanted to call the police, but if he called the police, Ajin's reputation would be ruined. Not to mention that even if the man who violated him was caught, he would be able to get out in a few years. At that time, maybe he would retaliate against them. In order to live a peaceful life with Ming, Ajin eventually chose to swallow his anger, but unfortunately, a few months later, Ajin suddenly found himself pregnant, and from the time point of view, the child's father was the man who violated him. Knowing the situation, Ming had no choice but to take advantage of the night to find the man and stab him with a knife. In the end, it was physically strict to feed the dog, and Ajin also did not want the child to be born, but because the fetus had been in the hospital for a few months and could not have a miscarriage, he had to find a way to force the miscarriage with ginger and garlic and chili. By the time Ming's husband returned home, the woman had fallen to her death and had no movement. Ming, who had been scoffed at, hurried to pick up his wife and wanted to take her to the hospital for treatment. But in the middle of the road, he suddenly had a car accident and was hit by a big truck. Fortunately, the couple survived, but unfortunately, the child was stillborn. This made Ming angry. He wanted to kill the miscarriage more than once, but Ajin could not bear it and forced him to persuade his husband many years later. The child he wanted to kill had grown up, but Ming did not want to see this daughter because for a man, for Ajin, the wife's miscarriage is undoubtedly the biggest torture for him. Although it has been many years, the humiliating scene that happened to his wife still makes him unforgettable. It was almost Xiaomei's daughter's birthday, and Ajin's mother gave her a puppy as a birthday present in advance, and then something strange happened on the internet. The original quiet puppy suddenly ran outside. No matter how you call it, it didn't work. So Xiaomei had to chase it out and followed the puppy all the way to an old tree outside the suburb. I just saw the puppy running on the ground, and it looked like there was something buried underneath. Out of curiosity, Xiaomei dug up the dirt with her hands and found a bottle of green light underneath. Although a little scared, Xiaomei still secretly took it home to study it carefully. But as he pulled the bottle cap open, a strange flying goose rushed out with green smoke, and at this time the puppy downstairs also suddenly kept switching and seemed to see something scary. But Xiaomei didn't care too much, and then the next day at school something strange happened. The sudden abnormality made Xiaomei feel like her neck was bitten by something out of fear. He called his mother in a row, hoping to pick her up from school, but no one answered the phone. When Xiaomei didn't know what to do, something strange happened again. What was surprising was that the person in the car was a Min. "How are you? Hey, are you okay with your car?" I don't shake the car father's innocent Xiaomei had always been used to, but she did not know how the hell she offended father. But to see Xiaomei secretly doing nothing did not break Min's heart even. Lacked dinner with his daughter, eat together. The lost Xiaomei can only go back to the room and play with the puppy. But then the puppy seems to have seen something and suddenly ran out. And then he came to the living room and kept running into the fridge. This scared Xiaomei to death. It is said that dogs are spiritual and can see things that people can't see. Is there something dirty in the fridge? Even though he was very scared, Xiaomei still walked over and wanted to open the fridge to see what was going on. There was a ghost of a boy in the fridge. His face was pale and blood was all over his body. He just threw Xiaomei out of the fridge. But every time the fridge door was automatically closed, nothing seemed to happen. When Jen came home from work, Xiaomei had fainted on the floor. Jen, who was very anxious, called Amin and took his daughter to the hospital. But even in this case, Amin still did not take his daughter with him. Excuses for work, need to socialize directly left. Jen knew that she was sorry for her husband and could only be sad alone. But who knew that he was actually the biggest victim after a checkup? The doctor told them that Xiaomei just had a mild concussion on her head and she was fine. But just as the mother and daughter passed the hospital corridor, Xiaomei seemed to have seen something staring at the passers-by. It turned out that it was just Xiaomei's illusion, but only she knew that what had happened recently was definitely not just an illusion. It was so simple that on Xiaomei's birthday, her brother, who was studying abroad, rushed back. Amin was very enthusiastic about his eldest son. Xiaomei's relationship with her brother was also very good. At the time of the banquet, the family and classmates were giving Xiaomei a kiss, but when the candles were blown, something strange happened. The original delicious cake became corrupt between the blink of an eye, climb full of insects. When Xiaomei was still in shock, her relatives and friends around her suddenly turned pale, as if they had been possessed. Such a terrifying scene scared him to collapse. All he saw was Xiaomei picking up the knife on the table and staring at the cake. In the end, the big brother sold it in time, which stopped Xiaomei from facing the ridiculous explanation of his daughter. The couple both felt that there was something wrong with Xiaomei's spirit, and from that day on, Xiaomei's spirit became more and more tense. She always felt like something was staring at her. Such abnormal behavior made Zheng look at her in the eye and hurt her in the heart. He thought it was because Amin didn't care enough about his daughter that Xiaomei became like,
"This, I see him now, and I still see him like I used to. You don't
want me to see." The voices of the parents' quarrels were all heard by Xiaomei, but she had no time to think about it because her mother had been very strict with her since she was in school. After a long suppression, he finally broke out. "You have to read. I've been doing so much for you. You look like you've been feeling a little sick lately. I'm taking you to see the spirit. You like to see it. You don't want me at all. You don't love me at all." The rebellion of his daughter made Zheng feel sorry for him. He had done his best to treat his daughter well. Why couldn't he be understood? And Xiaomei finally agreed to see a psychologist in the circle of her brother. In the process of communication, Xiaomei said something strange that she had recently encountered. "Other people can't see it. I'm the only one who can see it." "Ah, I told them, but no one believed me." But in the face of Xiaomei's words, the psychologist said that he must have seen an illusion, that he should be able to get out of it if he took some medicine. But when the mother and daughter returned home, something strange happened. The dog, who was originally very close to Xiaomei, was scared and ran away. Thinking of the strange behavior of the dog 2 days ago, Xiaomei subconsciously realized that something bad was going to happen. As it turned out, when Amin got home from work, he accidentally knocked the dog to death. Xiaomei, who witnessed this scene with her own eyes, was terrified. She was terrified to ask her mother if she would save her if something happened to her. The words of the daughter reminded Zheng of that unbearable past again. But Zheng didn't tell his daughter, just lying that he was poor at home, so he wanted to kill the child, and said that his parents loved him very much. However, the strange thing is that Xiaomei suddenly showed a merciless expression, as if she was going to kill someone. In order to appease Xiaomei's emotions, the next day, the big brother took her to the park to relax. But when Xiaomei went to the bathroom, she suddenly saw something terrifying. She screamed in shock, but the few people who came to the door did not see anything. When they returned home, the big brother told his mother about what had happened today. Zheng felt more and more that something was wrong. If, as the doctor said, Xiaomei had just seen an illusion, she should have recovered after taking the medicine. But according to the current situation, the daughter seems to have been possessed, so under the recommendation of a colleague, Zheng found a shaman who could heal the evil. After learning of the situation, the shaman asked Zheng if Xiaomei had been to a funeral or a dead person. Zheng said he had never been there, and the shaman thought about letting Zheng go back to get some of Xiaomei's things. It's best to have nails broken and hair. After picking up the things, the shaman began to talk about what he wanted to find out about what happened to Xiaomei. But the family was not very peaceful at the time. Amin, who was asleep, was suddenly scared by a moth and found his daughter standing in front of him in a strange way, and said that her dog had died so badly that Amin was a little cold. "So I'm going to take a hot shower and relax." But as a moth flew by, Xiaomei, who was reading in the living room, suddenly changed her face and showed her evil expression again. Then he walked over to the bathroom and noticed that Amin, who was moving, wanted to ask his daughter what was going on, but the water in the bathroom suddenly boiled. However, in the face of his father's plea, Xiaomei did not move. Fortunately, Zheng and his eldest son happened to return home. That's how Amin was rescued. But when the big brother asked Xiaomei why she didn't open the door for her father, Xiaomei suddenly said that she was listening to music all day and didn't know anything at all. Such an unusual situation made a few people more certain that Xiaomei must have been possessed. But the shaman told them that according to the way it was done, there was nothing dirty hiding. She carefully walked upstairs and made her way toward her daughter's room. But the moment she stepped inside, she froze in terror. A horrifying ghost child suddenly appeared before her. Panicking, Azhen rushed toward the door, desperate to escape. But as soon as she opened it, another terrifying spirit was waiting on the other side. Before she could react, the entire room began to shake violently. Furniture crashed to the floor as objects flew through the air. In a desperate attempt to survive, Azhen threw ashes from the incense burner across the room. Instantly, everything fell silent. But before she could catch her breath, a strange pain twisted inside her stomach. It felt as if something was trying to claw its way out of her body. As her screams echoed through the room, a blood-covered ghost infant suddenly appeared, and then vanished. Only then did Azhen realize the horrifying truth. Years ago, she had been pregnant with twins. After using a dangerous folk remedy and later suffering a terrible car accident, one child had survived while the other had been lost. According to ancient beliefs, a forced abortion or unborn child filled with resentment could transform into a vengeful spirit, unable to move on. The ghost child revealed that Azhen didn't belong in this world. In the next moment, she woke up in a hospital bed. Then came an even more shocking revelation. The doctor told her that 15 years earlier, the car accident had actually killed her husband and son. Neither of the twins had survived either. Azhen refused to believe it. If they had all died 15 years ago, then how had she spent the last decade living happily with her family? As she left the hospital and passed by a familiar house, the truth finally became clear. Her husband and children had truly died that day, but because they couldn't bear to leave her behind, their spirits had stayed by her side. During the years she remained trapped in her unconscious world, they had lived together in a shared illusion, creating the precious memories she believed were real. In the end, death. But some goodbyes are unavoidable.